Welcome back to Tran Fails, Sons of the Forest. The game released a patch, as mentioned in the previous episode, and among that patch, you can dismantle normal everyday furniture like this now. Used to be you couldn't. So I can move this bone chair if I felt like it. And if you throw it, you get your items back. The courtyard is a little bit cleaned up. You can see that I moved you got rid of some of the log holders. They also used up all the logs in the effort to start building a house. It's a very bad house. This is not where most of my effort has been. We peek inside. We can see that I've already set 2 beds. I keep sliding down this ramp, though. Already set 2 beds, but this is not what I wanted to show. But that just goes to show how little I regard my own domestic affairs, I suppose. This is one of my pedestals that I created a long time ago, and I added a little wing to it so that I can just jump up here without having to climb the rope. Normally, I'd have to climb the rope up there, and then rally or zipline my way to the next area. So what I wanted to show you today is I'm going to be linking together my network of sky towers, or whatever you want to call them. I think sky towers sound cooler, but they don't actually fly, so I don't know. We'll come up with something maybe. So you already saw these first 2. And as time has gone on, I've actually gotten better at building these. Sometime during the last episode, I started from the mountain and worked my way down. And I've managed to get back close to home territory with my towers. Using a little tree house, and make sure you plop the zipline right into the tree, otherwise you'll go sliding and skidding off of it and probably falling to your death or something. So we have a choice of 2 ones here. The one on the right was the first one we used, but it eventually links up to the same one on the left. There is a maximum length on zip lines, but the maximum length is not what you can shoot from. Let's pretend your shooting range is 20 meters, and maybe the zipline range is total of 60 meters. So if you walked 40 meters, you can shoot the rest. Even if you walked 50 meters, you couldn't shoot past the 60. Again, that's just an estimate. All right, this is just a logging camp, as in I was chopping down trees, because this is where we're going to link up the last treehouse. I had to do so much fighting here on day 45 when the enemy was actually spawning in my buildings. They could not be walking. I'll show you screenshots at the end of this. They're spawning in my buildings. I decided I would just take matters into my own hands and I'd start actually plugging them. Yeah, I had to log all this, chop down all those trees in order to get a chance at... Actually, I might... It's still very finicky. A couple of these trees are in the exact way between me and the final treehouse. You can see the red cord. If it's red, I can't fire. I know this is the tactical axe, and I have a fire axe and stuff. I'm not that worried about it. I generally use something like this, because if there is a strength advantage, you'll notice that I'm not getting any strength. I've maxed out. I'm strength 50. So if there is a strength damage for weapons, which I don't think there is, but if there is a strength damage for weapons, then I would assume that my tactical axe is going to be better. Yeah, I'm fine with that. I'm not really needing these trees for any reason. I just needed to get them out of the way. All right, so let's try again. Let's get the white dot to show up. Yeah, I'll kind of get it in the center. Again, if I get it on the glancing shot of the tree trunk, I'm going to go flying off instead of flying into the... You basically want to face plant into the tree. If you don't, you're going to go flying. There we go. That is now linked. All right, let's take a look at this incredible linking system. Well, it's incredible to me. So I don't normally build anything that isn't practical. And for me, this is the closest thing I can do. Other people are building towers and water temples. I'm building a zipline network across the world. We started in the western region of the island. Let me go and open up my map so you can take a look what's going on. Okay, let's orient ourselves. All right, this is the way I see the map. With the crash on the northwestern tip. It's at the top of the GPS. Our base is to the left of the yellow arrow. That's where our home is. It's the shelter icon with Kelvin there and everything. We've already gone this far east, and we're going to keep going east all the way through the mountains. And to cap it all off, I'll take you on a sledding trip, since we can easily get to the top. If the game doesn't make me do a server, or if the game doesn't make me do a save wipe, like I can keep building, then I will go ahead and make a total spider web network. All right, this region, it's a little hard to see sometimes where I'm heading. So I created torches. You go in the direction of torches if you want to head towards the mountain. This symbol here, it's just I made it up. It's a very rudimentary symbol. This symbol here tells me that this is the way back to the mountain. And I don't have one here because I couldn't see it over the ridge. But on the next zip line, I'll show you what the symbol is. We're going back to base. So that way, as I'm skiing to my area, I'll be able to see which zip lines I need to take. Because you can get disoriented staring at a screen full of branches. We can see here that is towards the mountain, and this right here, it's more of a triangle, it's more of a filled out structure. That represents our base. I don't have to jump off for that. I mean, but I do that so I can show you what those symbols are. We won't need to jump off any further. Both ends of the mountain, there is an outpost that I have created that is very well defended. I've learned a lot about creating quick zipline bases as well as outposts. Spikes are still the order of the day. This is enough spikes to kill any of those slinky dudes. He can sneak up on me and he'll still be dead before I ever notice him with all these spikes. He didn't, at least in the pre-patch, he didn't trigger those fly traps. Some enemies don't trigger fly traps, but they do still get poked occasionally by spikes. This is an outpost if I need a restocking from living on the mountaintop. So we're going to keep going. Here's another split. This one doesn't really go anywhere. I started with that outpost, but I couldn't link anything comfortably because of the slope of this hill. Because a zipline needs a direct line of sight with anything. So I created a secondary post right here. I find tree houses to be good for quick ziplining from around the map. Yeah, but this is what I built instead. This is my version of how I would operate. Gabriel Lemonnier mentioned that I had a practical approach, and I really like that description for my very boring but utilitarian methodology. So I'm going to describe my building mechanics as practical from here on out. I didn't even finish making a door to a bedroom, which I never sleep. Like, my character probably hasn't slept since like day 10, right? It's day 60 now. And what have I built instead? A massive zipline network through the island. Right, once we get to the next checkpoint, I'll show you the map. Now, because of all of this, I've learned quite a bit, or made certain assumptions quite a bit about enemy spawns. They spawn even if I'm building in the dark. Even if I zipline from one base to another. Here, I'll show you. In an upcoming outpost, I'll give you an example of what exactly happened. I believe the following. If you set a campfire, it might keep the enemy from spawning. A tarp and a bed do not. I can guarantee that, because they were still spawning inside my home on the top of this mountain, and I had a tarp and a bed. I'll show you screenshots of that all at the end. But when I set a campfire, they didn't spawn anymore, and that could always be a coincidence. Like, it could just be that it was random chance, and they just chose not to spawn ever after the campfire. Now, it doesn't mean that they won't attack places with campfires, because they have walked up to it from other areas, which is why those spikes are here. Also, the patch made it harder for me to land on shelves, so I'll probably have to come up with another system of landing into my tower. So this is a 4-story, I believe, 5-story tower. It's not the tallest tower that I've ever seen, but since I built it on the mountaintop, it's probably the tallest building currently to date in YouTube creator content. there are probably like 10, 20-story buildings that are on the ground level, but I have natural terrain in my favor with that. All right, so let me teach you a little bit about extra stuff about zip lines. If you place a zip line, you can then build walls around it afterwards, and it will still be valid. But I can no longer, unless I were to dismantle this wall again, which I have on multiple occasions, I can't just hop out and then shoot something through this wall. It'll give me a red line. Right now it's a red line, and that one just links over here. That's all it links to. But it's not a valid connection anymore. So once you've built a wall, you can then sort of phase through the wall occasionally. Sometimes I slam into the outside of the wall. That's why I use the shelves so I don't get any, so I don't suffer any damage. So this is my base. I mean, for what it serves, I don't really do much with it. That's the first bed I ever made. It is a little bit troublesome to try to get on zip lines. The same for going up and down ropes. All right, so that's not as cool as the other ones. These two basically were for logs. Let's take the longer zip line, which is on the first floor. That was the first zip line that we had for this tower. And then before we leave, I will show you the map. I was just giving a little tour of my base. It goes up higher, but there's really nothing out there. There's not even a garden, nothing. So if you take a look at the map, try to orient. Okay, there's the heli at the top of the GPS. If we were to orient the map the way I generally face it, this is how our island would look right here. So we've already gone from way off camera on the left. We're now in the middle of the map. I haven't completed the network to the east, but I did want to show you that I had finally managed to successfully link those two things. That area that you just saw me do was actually the hardest one because I had to chop so many trees to get that to work. All right, so the most reliable way I found to climb up and down ropes and go up and down zip lines is to walk forward and mash E. Whoops, I just fell. Okay, that's still a little dangerous. That's okay. That's why I have all these rails. This is a ground-based zip line, which leads me exactly over here. That zip line up there is where the tower would take me. We can see that there are enemies up on this mountain peak. And I just sort of skied down. That doesn't normally happen. Maybe the physics are slightly different in the new patch, or maybe that's just a 1 in a billion, but that has actually never happened. All right, so we have a choice of two different ones, and I'm going to take the one on the right just to talk about length of zip lines. The one that we're riding now was my original zip line through the mountain pass, because for whatever reason, I could never get this to link up to my first logging camp up ahead. This right there, even though I had what looked like a clear line, it could never link up that tower with this logging camp that is dead ahead in the crosshairs. And I believe that's because if we were to say target, anyone grab this. There we go, it wasn't firing. So we can see that the line is red right now. That's because it doesn't have a clear line since it's going through the hills. But as we go up the slope, it'll become a little easier for it to have a black line. The black line represents the fact that I can now shoot. So I can shoot anywhere here and it's a solid link. But after a while, it starts becoming red. And this is what I mean that you can't actually extend it past your normal shooting range. There is a certain cap. So right now we still have a black line. If we keep, I'm going to try to angle myself a little bit so you can see the red line as it appears. It's hard to get, it's hard to actually look at there. Okay. And there. This is now the red line. So if I step forward just a little bit more, I'm left clicking right now. If I step forward just a little bit more, it's going to snap. So that red line here represented the maximum range of the zip line. So your walking forward does extend your range that you can reach, but it doesn't extend the overall permanent zip line range. All right, let's take the upgraded path. I left the old outpost. I could have repurposed this logs, but I left the old outpost because if I needed more trees or something, I could always use that. It's basically a giant log holder, is what it is, so that logs do not roll downhill. This area I've had spawn about 3 times. That's why it has so many defenses. Every time enemies would spawn here, I'd make new defenses. And here's the thing. I'd zipline, I'd kill a bunch of babies here, like literal mutant babies, zipline down, grab 10 rocks, and zipline right back up. It didn't take very long. Like, as long as it takes you to mash E 10 times, right? And there was another pack of mutant babies. So they just literally spawned right where I'm standing, with all of this structure here, with lights and everything. And yes, I have built in the dark, and enemies have still spawned. But once I set a campfire, I have not had any more spawns here. Again, that just might be anecdotal evidence. Maybe they could have very well have spawned. I will say that with the new patch, campfires do not run basically infinitely, so that may be an issue as well. This is the outpost on the other side of the mountains. It has energy bar here, medical here, and shotgun rounds here. And then finally there's a river just a little bit down the ways. Bottom zip line will take me to the cave, and I could just hop up and grab it if I needed to get out of here. Such as if the mutants attacked in the middle of night. I don't want to be here for that. But we do have another zip line that goes further into the Eastern Territory. I have not completed this part of the pipeline or skyline. But I wanted to share this moment with you that I have now created. Well, let's take a look how far we've traversed. So if we are looking at the map as a north-south orientation, we moved all the way from the west of the map, left of the where my character's thumb is, basically, over here. And about in a few more zip lines, we could easily reach the bunker on the right. My overall goal, depending on how recordings go and if people are interested in seeing it, is possibly to make a zip line all the way to the end of the game, which is this bunker right here, the very top. All right, let's go ahead and take this last zip line out of here, since we've already been spotted. And I see that I have some leftover lumber right here, ready to go. So this is one of my more, it's not an advanced creation, but we'll say it's one of my later creations. The way I have it is, it should be tall enough where you slam most of your body into it reliably. If it's like just down here, say it towards the bottom of this, let me go ahead and grab it, like that, you might actually go careening through it and basically off to your death. So, face plant into an object. I'd say about 3 blocks high is pretty good. The reason I do it this way is it is both a little bit of style and a little bit of saves logs, because sometimes I end up with chopped logs, so I just stick them on the roof. It can vary in shape. These are extra logs for the next outpost, just to get me started. And let's go and go sledding. As of the patch, I should no longer slide just by opening my inventory or opening my book. And opening my book was annoying because I wanted to build a treehouse everywhere. And almost all the trees I was picking was on a hill. So I'd always be skiing around, and it would not be easy for me to get to my treehouse. Okay, I don't really know where we're going to end up, but we're just going to go for it. If you'd like to see more from this game, please feel free to leave in the comments what you'd like to see out of it. Thank you very much for watching Tran, Sons of the Forest. I'll see you next time. This is the second time they've spawned inside the 1-block room. There are 3 doors. 2 are still completely fenced off both inside and outside of the door. The 3rd door, which I use to get in when not ziplining, requires jumping to reach. This picture is the 3rd time enemies have spawned in the base. That balcony can't be reached without jumping from the ramp the giant is on. And you can see 2 enemies spawned in the same coordinates, Skeleton Paint Guy and Creepy Armor Guy. Backing up a little, 2 tiles away, there's an active tarp. Don't forget about the bed inside too. Once I replaced the tarp with the campfire, this nonsense didn't happen again.